Welcome back to Golf Weekly. Fortunately, on this segment, I'm being joined by one of our Island Golf School students this week, Les Waters. Les, thank you for joining us. Les comes to us from Bermuda, and he's going to be kind enough to be our driver test subject. When we talk about fitting the driver, this is where the flight scope launch monitor really becomes our buddy. It gives us numbers and tells us things that can really inform us as to whether or not our student is maxing themselves out and the club that they have is in fact the right tool for them. So, what do we mean by that? Well, number one, we're going to go ahead and find out if the student is hitting the ball appropriately. What does that mean? That means that when he's hitting the ball, he's actually coming up into the ball with the club a little bit. So if the ball were on the tee here and that were my finger, we're actually having that club come up into the ball just a little bit, okay? If it comes down into it, we're going to produce more spin than we want, which is going to go ahead and give us a ball flight where the ball shoots up in the air and dies. How many of you out there have hit a golf ball where you said, oh, I hit that so solid, and you got out there, and somebody that you really didn't think hit the ball very far is 25 yards by you? Well, that's because you probably had a lot of spin on your driver. You didn't have a ball flight where the ball kind of flies sort of like the top of a dome stadium. That's really what we're looking for when we have optimum ball flight with the driver, okay? We need to come up into the driver to do that. Other things that can affect that, the shaft. How much boing do we have in the shaft? Is the shaft the right shaft for the speed that the person is going ahead and having when he swings? Finally, what do we have here for loft? Is the club 9.5 right, 10.5, 8, 12? Once again, that depends on the person. This is where the flight scope launch monitor goes ahead, like I said, and aids us. It tells us exactly what the deal is and takes all the guesswork out of it. So what we do is we go ahead and we've got Les has his own driver here, so I'm going to have him hit a ball or two with that, and we're going to get some numbers and we're going to find out exactly where he stands and kind of go from there. So Les, if you'd be kind enough to go ahead and hit a ball, I'm going to get out of your way here. There you go. Good one. Now what we do is we go ahead and wait that proverbial few seconds for the flight scope to go ahead and give us a reading. And Ms. Emily, what did we get there for a reading?
Spin was 2279, distance 193, club head speed 86.
86. So we had spin of 2279. Did he come up or go down into it? Can we tell?
Yes, sir.
And with the spin rate like that, I've got to believe that you already have a club that's pretty much right in your wheelhouse, because that's a good spin number. Because really the spin number we're looking for, somewhere generally between 2400 and 2700 is usually considered pretty good. Anything under 2400 is really good. And usually we're looking for a launch of about anywhere from about 13 degrees, 12.5 to 13, up to about 16.5. What do we have there for launch?
His launch angle was 15.5.
15.5 and 22, so that's really right there. He smacks himself out pretty good. I'm going to have you go ahead and try one with this club now. A little different shaft, a little softer shaft. About the same loft as you had on your other one. There we go. Another pretty solid hit right there. How'd we look on that one? You're swinging a little better than you were this morning there, big fella. Looks good.
We had a 14.8 launch, a 21.88 backspin, and carry of 185.
So that one,
speed 84.4.
Did that one go, the first one was what?
15.5 and 22.
Gotcha, okay. Now we're going to go ahead and give you a much softer shaft and just see if that changes up, just to show what the characteristics might be, okay? Right back in this area, right in there, okay? That feel any different in your hands?
It did. It felt very flexible.
Felt very flexible, didn't it? Very whippy, almost a little bit too much. What did we get for a reading on that, Emily?
We had 167 yards, 83 miles per hour, 14.7 launch, and 11.95 backspin.
Yeah, that time I went ahead and gave Les a club that was probably, and I knew it going in, probably not right for him, because I wanted to see sometimes how consistently he's swinging, because if I know a club's wrong for him and the numbers come up as they did there, not as good as the other ones, it can kind of tell me that more than likely he's in a good mode to test right now because he's swinging rather consistently. Okay, we're going to give you back your driver. Let you go ahead and go back to that and see how we do with that again. Now, one of the things that's very unique about the Titleist system is that after we start to get pretty specific in terms of we know what club he's going to get, we also have 16 settings we can go ahead and adjust this club head to alone. So whether he's got the D2 head or the D3 head, depending on the loft, I can go ahead and change, make them a little bit open, make them a little bit closed, take a little bit of loft off, and add a little bit more loft. So like I said, after we determine what shaft he needs and which club head we want to go ahead and give to him, we can get very specific by doing some very minor tweakings. That's for another session where we make you make a whole bunch of swings, you know? Sorry about that. There you go. Okay, that one right there, we got the ground a little bit, correct? Now, one of the things you've got to remember about hitting the driver, okay? Like I said before, we want to make sure we're coming up into it. So for those of you that might feel as though at home you're getting too much spin on your driver, one of the things I'd like to see you do is when you get set up to the ball, I'm not going to swing, you're fine. I'd like to see you make sure that you've got a little bit of tilt in your spine. We always want to make sure that ball's up even with your left shoulder. Okay, because with the ball, even with your left shoulder, we know that the minute your arm goes by your left shoulder, it's on the way up. And if you're going through the ball correctly, getting a good rotational turn, turning your pelvis correctly, getting your left shoulder out of the way, it's at that point that the club should just be starting its way up to make sure that you go ahead and max out not only your ball flight, but your numbers. You're getting the right degree of launch, which is going to put you out in the fairway a little farther. Les, I'd like to thank you very much for being with us today.
Pleasure.
We'd like to thank everybody for joining us. We'd like to thank our sponsors for all of their help, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Till then, I'm PGA professional Chris Tremblay. Enjoy your golf.